Hi, everyone. Big thank you for joining us today. We're really excited to talk to you a little bit more about Lehigh. We have some awesome students ready to share their perspective and their personal experiences. So again, big welcome. To start things off, I just want to introduce myself. So my name is Katie Yopes. I'm an admissions counselor here at Lehigh. And the way our office is structured, each admissions counselor is designated specific territories, in our country and beyond. So the areas that I get to work with primarily are North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Richmond County in New York City. And then also I manage the counties in New Jersey of Essex, Hudson, Morris, and Passaic. So if you have any questions, I'll drop my email in the chat function as we kind of work through our panel. So don't be afraid to say hi or if you have any additional questions. But with that, I'm going to pass it over to our students to kind of introduce themselves before we jump right in.
Yeah, thanks, Katie. Hi, everyone. My name's Samantha Margolis. I'm a senior here at Lehigh from New York City, born and raised. I'm in the College of Arts and Sciences, and I'm a double major in International Relations and Arabic with a minor in history. Some things I'm involved with here at school are I'm an admissions fellow. I'm also a university tour guide. I am involved in Greek life. I was a member of a sorority. I'm also on the women's club soccer team. And finally, I'm a study abroad mentor. So what that means is I help students find the perfect study abroad program for them if they're looking into participating in that.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nikki Gross. I'm a senior also at Lehigh, and I'm studying business information systems and marketing with a business analytics certificate. And also, in addition to being an admissions fellow, I'm also a tour guide here at Lehigh. I'm also an IACOCA International Internship fellow ambassador. And so we just promote the IACOCA internship, as well as a source supervisor, which is one of the work study positions that we have here on our campus.
Hey guys, my name is Yami. I am a junior here at Lehigh, studying journalism, communications, and political science. Some things that I'm involved on campus. I'm an admissions fellow. I also write for the Brown and White, which is the school newspaper. I'm also involved in a club called Lehigh Immigration Coalition, and I am a student guide for a program for first generation students.
And Rafiq, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? I'm not sure if your Wi-Fi is hanging in there with us. Maybe a little choppy. All right. Well, hopefully that kicks in. But with that being said, we'll jump into some of the questions that we have prepared to share with you guys. But if you have anything that you're hoping to hear specifically about, just drop that in the Q&A function, and we'll be sure to hit on that as we kind of progress through the session. So the first question that I have for everyone on our panel today is, if you think back to when you were in high school and you were embarking on this college search process, tell us a little bit about why you chose Lehigh. So why Lehigh for you?
Yeah, so I have a pretty unconventional why Lehigh story. I was not very involved in the college process. I was kind of overwhelmed, and that resulted in me shutting down to it in high school. I was a pretty good student, so I kind of just knew I was going to get in somewhere, and hopefully a lot of places, because I applied a lot of regular decision applications, and was like, once I get in to different places and get rejected from different places, that's when I'll really like look into my options and invest my time. Definitely do not recommend doing that, but hindsight's 2020, literally. So I knew I wanted to study international relations, and I looked at a bunch of different schools that had independent international relations departments. As an undergrad, a lot of institutions combine political science and international relations into one department, and they are very, very different. So I kind of wanted a school that recognized that difference and prioritized it, and Lehigh was one of them. We have a very strong international relations department and a very strong political science department, but they are separated. So that's kind of what put Lehigh on my list initially. But to be honest, I had completely forgot about it and had never toured or anything. So fast forward to my senior year of high school, and it's like March 1st, like the 3 weeks until applications or decisions come out. And I actually had a soccer tournament in Hershey, Pennsylvania. I was driving home on a random like Tuesday from that tournament, and my dad was like, I'm hungry. Like, we're going to pull off to the side of the road and get something to eat. So we pull off a random highway exit in Pennsylvania, and lo and behold, the sign says Lehigh 2 miles away. And I was like, Dad, I'm pretty sure I applied there. Like, I'm not confident, but I'm pretty sure that was on my list. And he was like, well, college campuses usually have good food, so we're going to go there and see what we can get to eat. Turns out I went to Tulum, which is now my favorite restaurant in the world, Bethlehem Mexican food, Beth Mex, 10 for 10 recommend if you're here. Got Tulum, walked onto campus and was like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. I absolutely love it. Everyone was wearing brown and white on a random Tuesday because I promise the colors do grow on you and you really fall in love with them. People were coming up to me being like, you look lost. Like, do you need to go somewhere? Like, I can help you. Just so welcoming, so friendly. So literally on the ride home, I drafted an email on my iPhone to my regional admissions counselor and was like, I need to go here. I'm so sorry I've not showed any interest. 3 weeks later, I was lucky enough to find out that I did get accepted to Lehigh University. And now I'm here as an admissions fellow advising you not to do what I did. So it's kind of my why Lehigh, and I don't regret it for a second.
Okay, well, that was a very exciting story. Mine's definitely not as, I feel like, emotional, but I knew I wanted to go to a business school, and I wasn't really sure what type of business. So I initially just started researching really good business programs in the entire country, and Lehigh was high up on the list. And I'm only from an hour away, so I came and visited, and I really just love the campus. Like Sam, the people were so inviting, and I stopped a few students and asked them questions, and everyone just was, I could feel that people enjoyed being here. And also with my time here, I was able to sit in on an info session and learn even more about the business program. And I really like the fact that when you come in as a business student, you're required to take a intro course in each of the different types of business that we have, which would give me the exposure I was looking for before I was able to decide like what type of business I wanted to go into. And also that there's a lot of students here who double major, and even minors and things like that are very common, which is something I was looking forward to as well, because I knew that I did have some different interests. Also, I really knew that I wanted to study abroad, and that's very big here as well. And I've been able to accomplish that too. So I feel like that's really worked out in my favor. And yeah, I think just the size and the school spirit and everything just really felt right. So I went ahead and did early decision, and I also don't regret my decision. I'm glad that I came here.
Yeah, for me, where I come from North Philly, and Lehigh was not really a school that was mentioned a lot about, but I remember they came to my school for a college fair, and I signed up for a program that they have called DAP, which is Diversity Achievers Program. So I actually got to come on campus and stay for a day or two, and that's where I really got exposure to Lehigh, what it was about. Not only did I meet members of the community, which helped me so much understand how campus life was. I am a first generation student, so I didn't really know what college was supposed to really be like. But having that exposure really opened my eyes to Lehigh. And I also liked how a lot of the students talked about having like a lot of hands-on experiences. Like Lehigh is also very like they like to go outside the classroom, and I really wanted that. I really wanted to like I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that the major that I wanted to go into, I wanted to kind of train and do things outside the classroom, and Lehigh provided that. I also applied early decision. I mean, after DAP, I knew that I wanted to come here and I wanted to be part of the community.
Hey, Rafiq. I think we lost you for a little bit, but no biggie. Super relatable with Wi-Fi this year. Am I right?
I was gonna say I'm gonna introduce myself because
Yeah, please do. We'd love to hear a little bit more about what you're studying, just for the audience, so they have a little context. So jump right in, and welcome back.
Thank you. As soon as I was about to talk, my Wi-Fi just kicked me. So I'm Rafiq. I'm a senior. I am from Cleveland, Ohio. I am a finance major with a minor in fintech, and then besides being an admissions fellow, doing these type of panels and interviews, I am also a tour guide. I am in various finance and investment groups across campus, and I'm also in the photography club. So jumping to the why Lehigh question, definitely not as exciting of a story as some of the other panelists, but I toured Lehigh during a typical like senior year college or junior year college visit. And I just kind of, looked at Lehigh, I fell in love with the campus. But when it really came down to like picking between schools I got accepted into, I think just looking back to my visit and just having that intangible feeling of being super comfortable on campus was like pretty much the driving reason. Obviously Lehigh checked all the boxes, like along with every other school of like, I wanted East Coast, medium-sized school, really strong business program. So it checked all those boxes, but it was more just like the intangible, like sense of community and just comfort level I felt on campus, which obviously is hard to describe, but definitely held true in like my initial gut feeling. So just being on campus and, having a really welcoming, collaborative over competitive school community, I think is, really important when looking for college, and like something I didn't really consider in high school, but, now being here, I realized that, that's what I wanted all along. So definitely checked all the boxes I was looking for and don't regret it.
Yeah, well, I think that is a great start to our conversation. So definitely a range of experiences here. And just that friendly reminder again, please put any questions you have in that Q&A function. We're going to buzz through a few of the questions that we've kind of prepped for you, but we'll quickly transition into those. So keep them coming. So the next question for the group that I have prepared is, can you tell me a little bit about your favorite academic experience on campus? Share that with the audience we have tonight.
Yeah, it's kind of hard because there are a lot of different ones. I would say the one that comes to mind first is definitely my study abroad experience. As a study abroad mentor, I kind of help other students now navigate their study abroad process. But as Nikki mentioned earlier, study abroad is huge at Lehigh. I think it's roughly 40% of all students do have some sort of abroad experience, which for an engineering and STEM school as big as ours, like that's an incredible number. I think what makes my study abroad experience so awesome was that when I was looking at abroad programs, I knew I didn't just want to study. I really wanted to get some internship experience. So as an international relations and Arabic major, I knew that when I went to a different country, it would be a waste to not be able to like really get some working exposure and something to put on my resume, because I care so much about like the international community. And so I actually found a program that was located in Geneva, Switzerland, and through Lehigh's connections and contacts, I was actually able to intern at the United Nations in Geneva. So the head of human rights and pretty much all non-governmental organizations that look to promote human rights there. So I actually got to speak in front of the United Nations Human Rights Council on the current situation in Madagascar. And then I was sent home due to COVID. But before that, I really got to go out with a bang. I literally spoke in front of the Human Rights Council and then was kicked out less than 24 hours later. So it was a whirlwind experience, but I just think at Lehigh, if you have an interest in something, you're never going to be met with a no, which I think is really, really key. Although other students before me hadn't expressed like the interest in like going to Geneva, Switzerland and interning, the second I mentioned it, our study abroad department was, okay, let's see how we can make this happen. Let's talk to our contacts, see what we can do. Like it was never a question of, oh no, we can't do that. It's hold on, we just have to figure out how to make this work. So I think that has to be like one of the greatest things about Lehigh and our academic experiences here.
Yeah, that's definitely a hard question for me as well. There's a lot to pick from, but I think maybe if I go back to one of my earliest experiences that really, I feel like laid the foundation for what my experience was going to be like at Lehigh. So that was a class that I took, which was a hip hop theater class called Act Like You Know, with our professor, Cassie Johnson, and she's just absolutely amazing. And so with that program, you have the initial course where you learn about theater, you learn about hip hop, you learn about how music has affected different cultures, and really just so much more that I thought I would ever be able to learn in the classroom. And especially as a business student, I wasn't really thinking I would have time to explore other options like that. So it was great to be able to go down that route. And at the end of the semester, you actually perform in front of roughly 350 students, and it's an amazing experience. I had never done theater before coming to Lehigh, so it was definitely like me stepping way out of my comfort zone. But that was definitely just one of the best decisions I've ever made. And then coming after that, I actually was in a play with Cassie as well. That was like a recollection of the past 10 years of the show that she's been doing. And from there, I think it just really helped to build my confidence and also to just help me to build relationships with professors. From there, I had no problem like speaking to professors for questions or getting to know them, or like building the foundation to have like a mentor relationship with them. So that was really, really beneficial in many ways to just have that experience, as well as the fact that I got a lot of, I was working with a lot of upperclassmen at the time. So they really were able to give me guidance that helped me coming in and just help for that transition to be even easier. So I'll definitely say that that was one of my favorite academic experiences so far.
Nikki, really quick, I have to say performing for 300 people is quite the final exam. I don't think I would be ready for that, no matter how much prep I put in. But anyway.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It was quite the final exam. And then for the play, we had to do that 7 times. So
okay.
Yeah, it was a lot.
A lot of practice built in there.
Yes.
But anyway, I'll go back on mute so we can hear from our other friends.
Just like Samantha and Nikki, it's so hard to pick just one academic experience, but I will talk to them about my recent one, which was I was a member of the Mountaintop Research Program that happens here at Lehigh. Now, Lehigh is known for its research, and I knew that coming in, I wanted to partake in that experience. I didn't think I was going to be able to because of my major, but it doesn't matter what major you are. You can think it's awesome that Lehigh allows any of their students to sign up for these research programs in the summer. So I signed up for one, and I think it was great to just meet professors that I didn't know from other fields, to collaborate with other students, to sit there and learn many skills about research and reading these very like hard journals, skills that I'm gonna take now with me and apply that in my major moving forward. So I think that has been, and I'm still part of it. The good thing about it is that you can extend the research. So I'm still collaborating with that team while I'm doing school. So yeah, that has been a great experience for me. And I would love everybody to take a part of that research opportunity if they can.
Just like everyone else, it's definitely hard to pick just one class or experience, but I think I want to highlight, I think, 2. So one, I'd say like my favorite academic experience like related to my major was a class I took. It was security and portfolio analysis. So that was like the most, I think, useful class I've had. Just at least, learning how to analyze the security and kind of do the research on it. So that was definitely super useful. But I think the most interesting, fun class I've taken was this past summer, I took an online class all about the Netflix show Black Mirror. So I've watched it previously for my own pleasure. But, taking it and like rewatching pretty much every episode in like a school context was super interesting to have to go back and like analyze it and write essays on it. So I think that was like super interesting to think about a class very differently, just like on a Netflix show.
Yeah, great insight, everyone. Thank you for that. It's always interesting to hear the range and the diversity in our students' responses, and just hearing them talk. I do think it's interesting to kind of pick up on some of those commonalities. Like I heard that experiential learning aspect of Lehigh coming through in everyone's responses, and also that spirit of collaboration, which I think is definitely how we try and do things here at Lehigh. But since we heard a little bit about academics, I think a next question to throw out to the group, I want to hear a little bit more about a favorite memory or experience you have within the Lehigh community. So perhaps something beyond the classroom. So throwing that out to the group to see what you have to say.
Yeah, so I mean, we like joke around here that no one at Lehigh is just a student. So inevitably you're gonna have really incredible experiences outside of the classroom. I would have to say my favorite Lehigh memory beyond the classroom is definitely going to be variations of like LELOF, which is Lehigh Lafayette Week, which is like our huge rivalry against Lafayette College, which is about 20 minutes away. But a little take on that is that I am actually on like the women's club soccer team, as I had mentioned. And every year, the last game of the season, we reserve for Lafayette, and it always usually falls around like Halloween. So we'll actually show up to the game in like Halloween clothing and just kind of like look like we're taking it as a joke, to kind of throw LAF off their game. Obviously, we are not taking a game against LAF as a joke. So then like right before game starts, we all like put on our jerseys and like get really hype. and kind of have our own version of a giant football rivalry, and make our own lead-off. So last year, unfortunately, this season didn't happen because of COVID, but last year we won 3-1. We had literally like 200 people at our game, which at a women's club soccer game, like that's a lot of human beings to come and have support us. I did have 2 assists that game. It's not a big deal. But it was just really fun. I think it's really cool that I have the ability to make a huge rivalry, literally the most played college football rivalry in the United States, my own, and kind of have my own version of lead-off. And everyone can kind of get into it. We have a blood drive against Lafayette. Like we do all this like different variations of lead-off, which I think is really cool so that everyone can play their part in the giant football rivalry.
For me, I think I would go back to when I was able to study abroad during, I think, 2019 or 2018, 2 years ago, 2018, okay, 2018. And that was when I went with the Iacocca International Internship Program. And so that program combines an internship and the study abroad experience together. And so for me, I was working at Calvin Klein in their marketing department, and I was there for 12 weeks. And so that was just an incredible experience. I'd never been to Asia or honestly, like off of this side of the planet. So it was a very big transition for me, but it was completely amazing. Like I think back to it all the time, and just being there was just a really great experience for me to grow as an individual, because we were given a lot of independence while we were over there. We were handling our own transportation, cooking for ourselves, managing going to work and actually having like a real 9 to 6 schedule, things that come up at work as far as communication with your boss and everything like that. That was all up to us. So that was really just a great learning experience for me. And then while we were there, we were actually even able to connect with some Lehigh alum, and they were just so amazing. They took us to their country club and gave us like all types of free stuff. So it just goes to show like how grateful or gracious, that the Lehigh alum network is. And I've definitely seen that all over the place besides just in China, but just another example. But yeah, just so that experience overall was just really amazing. And I feel like a really great learning opportunity, and something that employers love to hear when I talk about for interviews and things like that. They're just so blown away because it's really something unique that our school offers, that type of program.
For me, a favorite like memory or event that happens is called Fusion, and it's basically like it's not a dance competition. It's just like a dance like show where all like dance teams on campus come together and they perform at the end of the semester. And when I was part of the dance team, it was awesome to just go on stage and become like a whole different person, like outside of the student. Like I got to be my own person, like dancing, like you bring out like a whole different character. And also it was awesome to see like other students that I was in class with dancing and like showing themselves outside the classroom. And it's awesome. I'm always looking forward to it every semester. I mean, every fall. Unfortunately, this fall we can't, but hopefully next fall we can come back and I'll join my dance team again to be on stage.
I'd say one of my favorite traditions kind of goes off Sam's point of Lilof. It's like a specific tradition in that like week leading up to the game. It's called Eco Flame. So it's essentially where our marching band and Marching 97, like one day, the week before the actual game on Saturday, they'll just burst into random classrooms, like big lecture halls or like the dining hall, stuff like that, and just start playing our alma mater fight songs. So they'll literally like, stop class and just let the marching band like stand on tables and start playing their instruments. So like it's definitely like a really unique, weird, but pretty awesome. Like everyone's like kind of excited for the game, and also just in the middle of class just to kind of take like a 5-10 minute break and just have the marching band like stand right in front of you on your table and just play music. So that's like a really cool and I'd say unique tradition to Lehigh. And it's definitely really, really exciting getting people, ready for the biggest rivalry game of the year.
Yeah, I am such a sucker for live music. You just get so into it when you hear our marching band play. I kid you not. It kind of like chokes me up a little bit, but that's maybe me being a little nerdy. But anyway, so we're going to shift to some of the questions you've all been sharing with us at this point. And also I want to give a shout out to everyone on YouTube joining us. Pretty exciting day for us here in Lehigh Admissions being live on YouTube. So with that being said, YouTube friends, we're taking questions from you as well. So if there's anything you want to hear about, drop it in there and we will get to it as well. So a question we had come in through our chat function from Owen. He is saying that he is a prospective engineering student and he's curious, does Lehigh offer any co-op or internship opportunities? And just looking for a little bit more insight there. And, if I'm not mistaken, I think our panelists aren't in the College of Engineering. But with that being said, I'm curious if you have any friends and you kind of want to share on behalf of them. And then the last thing I'll say on the front of this question, Owen, I'm going to put my email address in the chat function there. So if you just email me and kind of express that question, I'm more than happy to put you in touch with a current Lehigh engineering student. And that goes for anyone out there. So just shoot me an email and I'm happy to connect you with someone that is, aligned with your interests. So just curious if anyone on our panel has any friends and you can kind of speak to the experiences that you've seen play out for them. And if not, that's okay, but I just wanted to put it out there to hear from the student perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting that we don't have an engineer on this panel. That's very rare that happens, so sorry. But I know co-op opportunities are available for those students looking for them. It is reserved for like the very top, I believe, engineers or people who really, really want it to be part of their experience. It's definitely not the general Lehigh engineer experience. But that being said, I do have friends that have participated in it and absolutely loved it. There are actually a lot of really, really cool engineering opportunities in the Lehigh Valley. So the people who I do know who have participated in a co-op actually did ones while still living on or near campus, which was awesome because they were able to still hang out with their friends. But instead of going to school, they were going to a full-time job. So I know it is an option and there are really cool kind of fusions between staying a Lehigh student and also having a co-op. But it is not we're not a co-op university in terms of engineering. So it's something that you'd have to seek out, but if you really want it, it definitely is there for you. And in terms of internships are so prevalent at Lehigh University. I think we're in the 90% for every student having some sort of summer internship. There are opportunities during the semester as well, but we do have pretty rigorous course loads, so that's not as popular. But that being said, I know tons of engineers volunteer hours in our various research labs, our various engineering labs to get more hands-on experience. So even if they can't do an internship during the semester, they're still super involved in either research or kind of the labs and different tests that are going on throughout the semester, which are really cool.
Yeah, well said, Sam. And not to cut you off, Nikki, I just wanted to piggyback off of what Sam was saying. So I think the statistic is about 93% of our students have at least one internship before they graduate. So you can see it's definitely an experience that students weave into their time at Lehigh. And Nikki, were you going to add something? I don't know if I cut you off.
Yes. I was just going to say, I do have a friend that did a co-op experience working for Sanofi. As a chemical engineer. And like Sam mentioned, she lived here on campus still and then just drove into work. And she really, really enjoyed that experience and is looking now to work for them full time. So it's definitely an option for any type of engineering students. If that's something you're looking for, you can apply for those positions.
Nice. So moving right along, the next question that we have from our audience is, do more students tend to live on campus or off campus?
Yeah, I can touch on this. So at Lehigh, the first 2 years, it is mandatory for students to live on campus. So freshman year, you're going to be put into most likely a random dorm unless you choose themed housing, which essentially is you live on the same hall with people that have aligned interests with you, such as international students, first generation, a commitment to not participate in drugs or alcohol. So just for example, like that, but otherwise, and then sophomore year, you're also required to live on campus, whether that be in a more apartment style housing, or if you join a Greek chapter, you'll be living in that house. But junior and senior, you have the ability to live off campus. There's no requirement that you have to stay on campus. I think it's around half of juniors and maybe, I don't know the exact number, 80% of seniors live off campus. I have lived off campus my junior and senior year. I love it. So it's cheaper. You have more space. It's, you can, there's no you're not really sharing a bathroom with anyone. So for me, it's a lot nicer to live off campus, but there's tons of campus housing around Lehigh that's maximum 5-minute walk to campus. So you'll never have to drive living off campus, which is also awesome.
Yeah, I also like to point out too, as Rafiq was saying, the housing for those freshmen and sophomores on our campus, you're pretty much right in the heart of where all the activity is happening. So I think that's so key in terms of, finding your groove when you're transitioning into this new phase. I just like to point out you are in the middle of the hustle and bustle and you're definitely situated well. So the next question we have is, can our panelists talk a little bit about what Greek life is like on campus? And is diversity prioritized by our Greek organizations? So if anyone has any insight on that, throwing that out to the group.
Yeah, so I am a member of a sorority. I think there's some really important things to know about Lehigh's Greek life. So we have Panhel, IFC, and then Cultural Greek Council. So those are the three big organizations that represent Greek life. I am in a Panhellenic chapter. I think right off the bat, we have a lot of work to do in terms of diversity and recruitment in Greek life. And I think Lehigh's really opened its eyes in terms of trying to improve that. I think something I'm personally involved with is Greek Allies. So Greek Allies specifically is about creating a safe space for members of the LGBTQ plus community to be involved in Greek life. So they have weekly meetings and every chapter house has to host a meeting every other week. So it's on a rotation to really ensure that everyone is attending those. So that's something I've personally been to a lot. And we've also kind of created new positions. So now there's a diversity and inclusion member on the Panhellenic Executive Board that's really looking at Panhel's diversity and how we can tackle systematic problems within Greek life that unfortunately are rooted in Greek life's history. So by no means are we at a place where we need where Greek life is perfect. But I do think that we are trying to make it a safer place for everyone involved and be as diverse and inclusive as we can be. But that being said, the Cultural Greek Council has incredible and historic chapters as well. I think, Yami, are you part of one? You're an LTA, right? No, okay. Well, LTA, MSU, there's a lot of different options for people that want to be involved in Greek life that aren't the typical Greek life that you see portrayed on the media, which I think is important. But I also think it's important to note that if you don't want to be involved in Greek life at Lehigh, you don't have to. It's only 25 to 30% of the student population at any given time. So the friends who didn't join Greek life, I'm still just as close with as the ones who I met through Greek life. And I think that's really important.
All right. Thank you, Sam, for that insight. I think that hit the nail on the head. So moving on, our next question is geared towards study abroad. So someone's asking, what year do students typically study abroad at Lehigh? And also, does Lehigh have study abroad opportunities in France, if anyone knows?
I would say the majority of Lehigh students definitely study abroad their junior year. I'd say that's pretty consistent with most colleges in general. Whether that be first or second semester is kind of up to you. That's not to say that you can't study abroad any other year or semester. It's just pretty much what's standard of your freshman, sophomore year, getting your core classes out of the way and then kind of prioritizing if you do want to study abroad, getting the classes out of the way that you need to and then planning your schedule that way. And then in France specifically, without a doubt, there's pretty much study abroad opportunities in any major country that, is, I'd say, travelable for Americans. You're able to find at least a Lehigh program or a partner program very, very easily.
Yeah, and also it's really cool, it is very common for juniors to study abroad during the semester, but also Lehigh provides a lot of opportunities that are not during our academic semester. So we have opportunities over winter break, which I've done myself, over the summer, which I mentioned doing myself as well. We have even over spring break, which is shorter, but still it provides a lot of flexibility for students, especially engineers or business students who have a lot of prereqs that they need to get out of the way, and you can't necessarily change when you're going to take those. So it just makes it easier if you, or even if you don't feel like going, if you're not comfortable with going and missing an academic semester, then you can just go over the summer or something like that. And there's tons of those opportunities as well that people take advantage of in any of their given years.
Yeah, building off of what our students just shared, I think it's about The opportunities to study abroad are about 250 different ways that you can do so in about 70 different countries. And I think Nikki brings up a really key point in terms of how we do things at Lehigh when it comes to studying abroad, that there's options in terms of when you can do it. And I think it's so important to just call out again, if you are a student in the College of Business or, pursuing engineering and your curriculum's a little bit more structured, those students can, plug in over the summer or those spring breaks or winter breaks. And I also like to call out too, students really have the ability to put their own stamp on this experience, because when our students are abroad, yes, they're doing the traditional kind of taking classes at a partner institution, but they're also holding internships, doing research, completing volunteer programs. So there's a lot of flexibility to kind of make this who you are, which I think is exciting to play out. So moving right along.
Yeah, I have one more thing to add.
Yeah, go
I think
for
it's
it.
really interesting. Also, there's no limit to us studying abroad, and I think that that's really cool. Like coming in, I just assumed that they were gonna, stop me at one probably, like, okay, you got it out of the way. But you can go as many times as you want, as far as like, what you can fit in and what makes sense for you. Like I know someone who studied abroad 9 times.
Yeah,
I
get
had
out.
actually, yeah, they made a great use of their time here. I actually had another trip that was planned and canceled because of COVID. So that would have been number 3. And then a 4th one that was planned and canceled because of COVID. So definitely just know that you can go as many times as you want as well, which I think is really, really cool.
Yeah, thanks for adding that, Nikki. Gosh, that could be dangerous though. No limit on that. All right. So our next question is, can you guys tell us a little bit about what life is like outside of campus within the Bethlehem area?
Yeah, there's so much to do. I come from a city, so I thought that coming to Bethlehem, I was gonna be like, bored, not doing nothing. But no, I think the Bethlehem community does have a lot of small owned businesses, which is awesome. The food is great. They have a diversity of food. Um, you could go to the north side, which is just across the bridge, and it's pretty popular around Christmas time. Makes really cute pictures for Instagram. Um, but no, there's a lot to do. And if you want to go to the mall or anything like that, Lehigh does provide a shuttle every Saturday. So you do have the opportunity to get out of campus if you don't want to be, always on campus as a freshman and a sophomore. So yeah, the Bethlehem community does have a lot to offer. And I did not know much about it. So I do advise that you guys research and see what it is that's around, and see if it's a place that you will like to visit and like to see.
Yeah, building off what Yami said, I'm from New York City. So like Bethlehem, Pennsylvania was rural for me. I really thought I was going to like a farm. I was wrong. But anything with like trees, I was like bigger than Central Park. I was like, okay, this is gonna be different. And I was really nervous that I was gonna be like bored and not really have things to do, but I could not be more wrong. I think Bethlehem, Pennsylvania actually fuses perfectly together a small city with like an extremely identifiable campus, and then also all the apple picking, pumpkin picking, Christmassy like vibes that I had never experienced growing up. Literally went apple picking last weekend. Everyone's going to pumpkin patches right now, which are only like 15 minutes away. So like you girls are dragging their boyfriends or significant others to go take pictures and stuff. But you have that, but then you're only 45 minutes away from Philly. So I'm a giant Mets fan. So every time the Mets have played the Phillies, like me and my sorority sisters have gone into Philadelphia because a lot of them are from Philadelphia. And we've had like a little rivalry going, and we'll get like nosebleed seats for like $25. So that's super fun because you just get that like city experience if you want it, but then also get to go apple picking and pumpkin picking and cornfields and all that stuff too. So I'm really appreciative of like the fusion between like those two kind of different things if you want them. But also like Bethlehem and like Zollner Art Center is our art center on campus, and it's one of the biggest theaters in the area. So every traveling show usually stops by us, which is really cool. So we've had Kinky Boots from Broadway come and perform. The Nutcracker Ballet performs at Zollner every year around Christmas time. So like stuff literally comes to you that I didn't even know would happen here. So I'm really appreciative, and I promise you will not be bored at all in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw a couple of points in there because I'm born and raised in the Lehigh Valley, and I really enjoy my time in Bethlehem. I moved away and lived elsewhere for a while, but I came right back home. I think Bethlehem is very ideal to the college student experience because it's very walkable, which is nice. And I shared with the group that I love live music, and there's actually a pretty good scene for that in Bethlehem. So I've seen the Avett Brothers, I've seen a Fleetwood Mac cover band, I saw Kesha back in the day, and I also saw Chris Stapleton. So you can definitely get a sense there's a little bit of everything, which is nice. So I think that's also something to just be aware of. And also, too, if you're a foodie, I think you're positioned well. There's a lot of different offerings, which I think our students enjoy from time to time with their friends, just to get off of campus and get a change of scenery. So off the top of my head, some of my favorites are Malaysian, Thai, Greek, sushi. So also you can see there's a range there for you to kind of explore and find your favorite of. But just like I said, I like talking about the Lehigh Valley and Bethlehem specifically. All right. So our next question is prefaced by a compliment. So I'm going to throw that out to the group just to give you guys that positive feedback. So one of our audience members was saying, thank you for your wonderful stories. So we appreciate that positive feedback. And they're looking for your insight in terms of hearing a little bit more about internships and research opportunities off campus during the academic year or during the summer, specifically in sciences, if anyone has any experience in that. And they're also, kind of tagged on to this question, does Lehigh have connections with companies and organizations nearby?
I can.
Uh,
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that, I mean, obviously, since none of us are engineers, right, in this panel, I can just kind of answer more generally. So for one thing I like to highlight is the way like Lehigh students find interest in jobs is through handshakes. So essentially it's companies posting open positions, for Lehigh students. It's like them actively seeking out us as students and, wanting us to fill the positions. And another thing that's really cool that Lehigh has is called Lehigh Connects. So it's essentially a LinkedIn network, for Lehigh and Lehigh alumni. So it's, Lehigh invested in this program so we can connect with Lehigh alumni and, just further our alumni connection network and, help us get jobs and internships or shadowing opportunities. So that's super, super cool. And obviously that spans for every, major, every jobs, sciences, business, everything. So that's one thing I like to highlight that's pretty, I think, specific to Lehigh that helps us, further our real world experience while at Lehigh.
Yami, did you want to add anything? I'm not sure if Rafiq kind of covered your point, but just wanted to make sure you had a chance to share your insight if you wanted to.
Yeah, he covered a lot of my point. I was
Okay.
just going to mention for the second part of the question about connections with companies and organization nearby. I can talk for my major, journalism and communications. We do have an NPR and PBS station nearby that the school has a good partnership with. So it's great to add to your resume. There's classes that PBS and NPR like offered through like Lehigh. Well, not like offer, but like they kind of have a partnership with some professors here. So yeah, you have that. So I think that's awesome. And I know that for other majors, they probably have other companies like Rafiq mentioned too around.
There was also a piece of the question, I believe, that was centered around science research, correct, Katie?
Yeah, you got it,
Sam. I'm technically a social science, so I think it's a little different, but I do know that science students at Lehigh have an immense amount of research opportunities. Most of the professors at Lehigh, especially in the science department, so whether it be chemistry, psychology, biology, they're usually conducting their own research so they can like recruit the students that they currently have in their classes to become assistant researchers with them. My best friend is a cognitive science and psychology double major. So she's going on to get her doctorate after school. So currently applying to med schools and stuff, but she actually is involved in 2 separate research projects and I think has like been an assistant researcher 3 separate times with her psychology and cognitive science professors. So it could be research that only lasts 1 semester. It could be stuff that you start your freshman year and continue all the way to senior year if your professor is working on that. But that's one of the best things about having such accomplished professors at Lehigh is that they're not only teaching, but they're also conducting their own independent research. And they love when Lehigh students participate in that. So I think that's really cool. And I also know that a lot of the science majors at school do have a senior thesis or like a senior research project or capstone, which in general, you have to come up with your own kind of research idea or project and present it at the end of your like senior year to that department that you're involved in. So you have assistance the entire way from like creation of a research idea to actually conducting your study to assembling your like dissertation. So if you're a science student at Lehigh, you're definitely going to be put to work, but like your research opportunities are endless, and it's awesome that you can get involved with your professor's research so easily.
All right, cruising right along here. Our next question is asking if you guys can talk a little bit about your favorite place on campus or a favorite place that you might have in Bethlehem. So if you can paint that picture for us, just because I know this year is a little crazy and we're not formally inviting anyone to campus. So if you can kind of describe that for our audience, I think that would be great to hear next.
I would say my favorite part on campus is definitely the front lawn. So the building behind me, it's basically the lawn in front of it. I guess you can kind of see it a little bit on my side. But essentially it's just like a big open front lawn. And then when it's nice out, they have a ton of Adirondack chairs out. So you can just kind of sit with friends, eat lunch, or do homework. What's also nice is Wi-Fi blankets campus anywhere outside, which, sounds kind of like meaningless, but then, being able to sit on the front lawn and actually do homework is really, really nice, especially on like, the first nice day of spring. But definitely I'd say that's my favorite place on campus. And then off campus, I guess, would probably be the steel stacks. Essentially it's Bethlehem Steel, which has gone bankrupt in like the early 2000s. They converted it into an art center. So there's like a walking trail nearby. They have different concerts there. Like Katie was saying, like in like the live music, like I've seen Milky Chance there. Tiesto's come. So definitely a lot of like at least concert opportunities there, but also just really cool to see the history and walk around. And like a day like today was super nice. I would just go for a walk outside, especially during, COVID times when like you really don't leave your house much. It's definitely nice to at least take walks.
For me, on campus, it's not really like a place outside. It's actually a building called STEPS, which is for sciences, usually environmental sciences. This is where they have their classes. I just love the building because it has so much like natural light coming in. So whenever I'm like studying or doing homework, I like to have that natural light. I don't know. I feel like it motivates me more. So that would be like my favorite place on campus. And off campus, I am Dominican, so there's this restaurant right there, like on 3rd Street, called Casa de Campo. So whenever I'm like feeling homesick or anything like that, or missing my mom's cooking, I go to the restaurant with my friends or by myself, and I get a taste of my homeland food.
You're making me hungry now, Yami. So I'll just throw in my favorite place on campus, and that's the Lehigh University Art Gallery, which is really cool. So if anyone out there is like creative and enjoys that kind of thing, I definitely say give it a Google. The collection is so wide and impressive. I think that one of the favorite pieces that I've seen was like a photograph taken by Andy Warhol. I think they have, stuff by Pablo Picasso. So it's pretty wild to see what's in there. And it's also cool too. It's not a stuffy kind of art gallery. I think it's very open and airy. So if you just want to, cruise through, and I think that there's definitely some student kind of engagement there where students get to know the pieces there and they're kind of curating it and explaining the artist's background to, other students or classes that come through. So that's definitely, I think, a good gem on campus to check out. So speaking of food, I think maybe a fun question to throw out to the group is, can you tell us what's your favorite thing to eat when you're on campus from any of our cafeterias or cafes, or, if you have a special coffee order?
I would definitely say my favorite thing to eat while on campus would be chicken fingers. We have like a chicken finger Fridays, which I have not been able to participate in this year, which is very upsetting. But hopefully in the spring, like we can, be on campus a little bit and I can get my chicken fingers. But they're really good, and we have them on Fridays, and they usually serve them with curly fries, which I'm addicted to as well. So like even if I wasn't planning on going out Fridays, because a lot of my Fridays I didn't have classes, I would make a point to get up just so I could get those chicken fingers and go get that. And that would be the highlight of my day. So definitely those chicken fingers are very high on my list.
So I kind of have two answers for this one. My first one is going to be coffee related because there is not a day that goes by that I'm not caffeinated at every point in the day. There's some lists online if you Google that say Lehigh is the #1 coffee consuming campus, and I like to think it's because I am a student here. So I think my favorite place on campus has to be the newest cafe, which is The Grind, which is in one of our libraries. We actually got to vote on the name of the cafe when they opened it. So The Grind actually did win. And I feel like that's a really good name, especially for like the biggest coffee shop in our like most like popular library, I would say. So that's probably one of my favorite things because you always like walk in there to get coffee, but then always wind up staying for like 30 minutes more than you should because you always see your friends or someone from class or a peer or someone just like comes up and talks to you and you're like, oh, I don't need to study anyway. Like, that's fine. So I'd say The Grind is definitely one of my favorite places, just socially and to get my caffeine. But then I'd also have to say that Rathbone brunch is like my favorite meal ever. So Rathbone Dining Hall is like the main freshman dining hall. So your freshman year is kind of like completely surrounded by freshman dorms. And then on Saturday and Sunday mornings, starting from like 9:30 to like 12:01, you have what we call bone brunch. And when I tell you, I would get a mountain of tater tots, which are the best tater tots I've ever had in this world from Bone Brunch. And you're just with your friends and you're like, oh yeah, I have work to do later, but right now you just woke up after sleeping in on a Saturday. And it's just a great start to your weekend and your day. And French toast sticks too are really good. So I have to say, like, just Bone Brunch and the memories you have in Rathbone of your freshman dining hall, like on weekends, are my favorite.
Oop, all right, I was having trouble hitting my unmute button. We've all been there. So my last question, because I know we're getting close to that hour mark, I just want to throw it out to the group. What would be one piece of advice you would give the class of 2025, knowing what you know now? So any advice you want to share with the next potential generation?
Yeah, I can start with this one. So my little sister is actually in the class of 2025. She is a senior in high school right now. So I am definitely seeing, both as an admissions fellow and just a big sister, kind of the obstacles you guys are facing in terms of the admissions process and how overwhelming it is. I think the biggest thing is that like we've been ingrained that the process goes a certain way, like XYZ, and that's really been turned on its head. And that's really hard to kind of digest. So my biggest piece of advice is just like control the controllables and remember that there are certain things in this process that you can control. So although you're not going to be able to stop a pandemic single-handedly, you can reach out to your like regional admissions counselor. You can ask to meet with a current student to really get their view on your prospective major or their experience at Lehigh with internships and like social scene and that stuff. Like, yeah, you can't visit campuses right now that much, but there's so many opportunities and things that you can do to kind of reclaim control in this process. So kind of focus on that and not the stuff you can't control, because unfortunately there's so much that's out of our hands.
For me, I would definitely say just try to make sure that you can do like as much research as possible, because like unfortunately you're not going to be able to visit a lot of places, but just try to really find somewhere that you feel like fits you, because I think that that's very important. And I feel like there were some things that I didn't necessarily research about colleges in general and Lehigh, but I got lucky that this was still a place I would want to go, but they weren't things that I looked into before. So really just try to, like, if you know anyone who maybe from the class before you that has spent their first year in college already, try to talk to them, and other unexpected things that come up, and just really just see where you can see yourself, because it's more than just the classes. Like, you're going to be living there, you're going to make lifelong friends there, you know, you're going to have connections with professors and things like that. So really just try to make sure that you can find the best place for you, wherever that may be.
Yeah, going off of what Samantha and Nikki have said, have an open mind wherever you go, whether that is location, moving away from home. It's okay to get out of your comfort zone. You grow so much out of your comfort zone. Also, when it comes to major, it's okay if you don't know exactly what you want to do right now. You will figure that out as you go in whatever school you pick, hopefully Lehigh. You'll figure that out as you go. And I think that's something that kind of talking to me, if I were to go back in time and tell myself this, I would say that like it's okay to not know exactly what you want to do and have that pressure upon you. But yeah, have an open mind and good luck with everything.
I'd say my advice kind of compounds off Yami's is just, go into college with an open mind. Like one thing I wish I would have, like look, knowing what I know now, I wish I could tell myself freshman year is just be more open and like willing to join clubs. So for example, at Lehigh, like on the front lawn, the first day of academic classes, every single club has a table out. You can just walk around, meet people, learn about the clubs, get a bunch of free stuff from them. I just wish, like, I guess on that day, freshman year, I would have joined more clubs because the worst that happens is they have your email and you write down your email. Like, it's very low effort to join a club. But I think even joining clubs that maybe I wasn't the most interested in just gives you a different perspective, and you can meet new people and just get more acclimated to college. So I think not being afraid to put yourself out there and join clubs and have new experiences is definitely beneficial in any college.
All right. Well, on that note, I think we kind of are in a great place to kind of wrap things up. So first, I want to say a huge thank you for everyone tuning in. I know everyone is spending so much time on their computer screens these days, so we appreciate you joining us this evening. I also want to say a huge thank you to Nikki, Sam, Rafiq, and Yami. Your contributions were excellent. This panel wouldn't exist without you guys, so big thank you from me. And also to in the chat function, I think most people hopefully have seen we've dropped our emails in there. I also dropped the link to where you can view all of our virtual opportunities. So, keep staying involved. We definitely want to see you again. And I think it's a great way to continue your research and learning more about Lehigh. I also included the link too, so you can contact your regional admissions counselor, which is also a great next step if you just want to send an introductory message. Go right ahead. But again, a big thank you, and